Who heard? Layers. There is a form to the anguish of the soul and to the cold sigh, one that reveals some inner catastrophe. The outer layer of a person's face broadcasts that news. For many days, the mirror had refused to accept her reflection. Whenever she looked into the mirror, the mentor would appear manifest there. Finally, one day, she set out on a journey, carrying the mirror for her mentor, intending to return it to the one to whom it truly belonged. The mentor looked at the mirror, smiled, and said, "Bring such a mirror that can see from behind as well." She was acquainted with that eye, which, while being one, sees in every direction. The mentor had taught her the Lataaif. She had learned that every person is a gallery of images. All of their Lataaif are like mirrors, in which each mirror receives the reflection of another. All disorder lies in the final mirror, which is called the Latifa-e Nafsi. It does not behold reality. It sees the reflection of desires, and that very reflection continues to cast itself upon the heart. This very mirror becomes tarnished by pride, anger, envy, hatred, and other moral vices. Some people prefer to see themselves in the mirrors of others. They pass through life seeing the world through the world's own eye. A person's character reveals the weakness of the inner sight. By giving preference to the outward, one becomes unbalanced. When the measure of vision comes to rest in accordance with the pattern of thought of the Murshid, it becomes such a mirror in which an object unveils its own secret. The esoteric people call this seeing within the inner being. One day, in a state of meditation, she saw that herself was a mirror in which her mentor was manifest. She was left astonished. In terms of outward stature and spiritual rank, she considered herself exceedingly insignificant. A thought arose within her. How could such a small mirror contain within itself her great mentor? It was revealed that the mirror is, in fact, a metaphor for the soul. When the layers of worldly dense impurities are removed from the soul, it comes forth clear and polished like a mirror, and fully receives the perfect reflection of its mentor. The greatest and most transparent mirror is the noble mentor, within whom the entire universe is reflected in motion. The vision of a friend of Allah beholds the entire film of the divine will. Every disciple's film runs within the mentor, but the disciple remains unaware of it. The disciple remains heedless of the mentor, even while being on the very canvas established by the mentor. Every person composes the document of life within the mold of their own patterns of thought. Those who suffice themselves with only the verbal claims call out, "Mentor, mentor," yet deep inside remain captive to the love of the world. This state reflects the reality mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah. Translation: They seek to deceive Allah and those who believe, but in truth they deceive none except themselves, though they do not perceive. On one occasion, the mentor said to her, "To see the mentor's mentor within the mentor is perfect meditation." The true aim of the Sabr-e-Sheikh is that the disciple, through the means of the mentor, attains access to their fragrance, that is, to Huzur Kalandar Baba Aulia. This, in reality, is the station of Fanafi Sheikh. Whoever makes his teachings their way of life, Upon such a person, the spiritual association of Huzur Kalandar Baba Aulia is completed. The one becomes a mirror. During the training program, one day the mentor instructed her, the thought must not wander outside of three: Allah, the Messenger, peace be upon him, and the mentor. It is not known how much success was attained in this exercise. Yet this much certainly happened. The mind kept freeing itself from every imprint, and its identity became lost in selflessness. Whenever some wandering thought recognized her and carried her beyond those bounds, cracks would appear in the mirror of the heart, and every reflection would become dim and unclear. After the boundary had been defined, the earth was no longer favorable for her. In those days, when I was suspended somewhere between being and non-being, I met the mentor. He warned me and said, a record is kept of the writing that flows within the thought. For many days, the mind repeated this lesson. The writings of thought grew shorter and shorter still. She began to withdraw into her own circle, whose infinite vastness was rendering her indifferent to time and space. It is true that this was also the destination of her longing and love. Yet at times the pull of the earthly realm would extend its hand, and she would slip beyond her circle. There, limitation would begin to tear at her like a vulture devouring a carcass. Her soul would become wounded. For its protection, the mentor instructed her to wear white clothing, and with loving attention said, white is the color of Allah, and it is Allah who has clothed you in it. Through this, your mirror will see through and through. Now, her mentor had cast away all the labels of her identity. The soul has no name. For it, association with Allah alone is sufficient. She came to know that people address the physical body, whereas Allah speaks to the soul. When a servant understands the language of the soul, then not only human beings, trees and birds and beasts, even the earth and time become an open book for them. The minds of high-ranking friends of Allah remain subject to the eternal will of Allah Almighty. They perceive and understand that the divine decree is operative and active within their inner being. They recognize Allah, and Allah honors them with His gnosis.